We're going to be checking out In Defense of American English. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting video to jump into. Before we jump into this, like 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. If you're one of the 80%, I appreciate if you can hit that subscribe button down below. But yeah, let's jump into this to see what we got.
Hello, welcome. So have you ever seen those videos, usually, you know, by British YouTubers, myself included in the past, unfortunately, but the likes of the lovely Joel and Leah, where they talk about British words that get corrupted in America, or you know, Americans make up their own terminology, or there's weird spelling differences that Brits don't understand, those kind of...
So pretty much saying that these people are saying that Americans are taking British words and just changing it and corrupting it. Okay, interesting.
Videos, right? Obviously, they're great for traffic and all of that, and I think that's partly the reason that we do them, or that I did them. I've kind of tried to cease because I want to take a look more at the history of some of the sort of language differences between Britain and America. And this video is very much designed to kind of defend American English against attacks. I mean, I don't want to, you know, pin attacks like that on...
You know what? I don't know. The words that I know that, like, Americans just spun and made it different, I prefer that way. I don't know. It just rolls off the tongue better.
Joel and Leah and those kind, they are being very light-hearted when they do it, and that should be appreciated. But there are people, and I've seen this in YouTube comments, who get very passionate about how American English is ruining English. In fact, even the term American English is something that causes much anger among people that are purists when it comes...
Wait. You're telling me there's British people that thinking American English is ruining English? Yo, have you heard some of the words they're coming up with in the UK, bro, for certain things? Yeah. I think the new generations in both countries are changing it to weird words.
To the sort of the British variety.
I want to see some examples.
To me, that's insane, and I say that as somebody who has a degree in English, somebody who has studied different varieties of English, including Canadian English, Australian English, my own British/English English, and of course American English. There are numerous avenues by which I want to defend American English, so let's get started.
Let's see. This is going to be interesting. When it's not American.
Whenever Brits sort of, you know, level criticism at the word choices of Americans, a lot of the time they're not aware that some of those very words that they're poking fun at were in fact coined by the British. Of course, I've talked about it extensively on my channel, but the word soccer is a fine example of that. So the word soccer was coined in Britain, in England, no less, at Oxford University, they believe.
Yo, true. Listen, I'm not like crazy into football, soccer, whatever you want to say, right? So like, this is funny for me to see because so many people will get mad, right, when Americans call football soccer. But I find it like, even though it's called football around the world, other than like Australia, America, some other places, right? I find it funny how like it was the UK that actually originally called football soccer.
Possibly by the England captain, the England football captain at the time, and it came from a trend of coining words out of longer words and just adding er on the end.
Right.
In the case of soccer, it comes from the word association, as in association football. They took the letters SOC from that and coined soccer. It's a good job, of course, they didn't take the...
You know, that's actually so weird. If it's called association football, association is not really like a name for, like, you know what I mean? Like, football is the name, like... I know football is like the name now, but even if you didn't know football was football, right? Association football. Why would you take the words out of association? What you do about football anyway? That's weird.
First three letters of association and make the word that way. That would have been an entirely different sport.
Wait, what?
Letters of association. E from that and coin soccer. It's a good job, of course, they didn't take the first three letters of association and make the word that way.
Oh, ass. Yo. What, like assball, or asser?
That would have been an entirely different sport. But anyway, good sport. So it was coined. We used it right through the 19th century, and you know, it made its way to the United States. It made its way to Australia, which of course it's still there, used there today. So America, by no means,
it was like, we ain't changing.
Country to use soccer. And then there was a divergence. There was a divergence between football and rugby football, of course, which were sports that kind of emerged at the same time in terms of the professional associations of them. And so to distinguish the two, you know, they had rugby, and then in England they had football.
Right.
Well, here in America, that distinction was never really made because, well, there's a huge ocean in the way, and rugby never took off here in the form of rugby. In fact, it evolved into what Americans know today as American football. And that's why that sport retains the word football. Speaking, though, of words that sort of originate...
Do you know what, though? The thing, even though I kind of agree with the soccer thing, I don't really think like people could get that mad since we came up with the word soccer to begin with. I don't think we should get that mad if people want to call it soccer or whatever, right? Soccer, football, don't matter. But do you know what I find funny is, and I say this to you guys like when you're in my streams and stuff. You know how like American football is called American football? The person that decided to call it football, what was they thinking? Because I swear you only kick it a few times in the game, right? Like, should they, like the word football is good and it's catchy and it sounds good for the sport. But like, the first person that thought of the name for it, why did they think foot and not hand? Do you know what I mean? Like handball or, I don't know, maybe there was already a word for that, a sport for that, I don't know.
In British universities in the 19th century, no less. The word brunch, right? I always thought definitely an American word. It's not necessarily a word that, you know, draws criticism.
Oh, wait, no, we don't.
It's a nice enough word because, of course, it encapsulates the quaffing of food. Do you quaff?
I just hear it all the time.
Drink it? I don't know. You don't drink food unless it's soup. Brunch it was coined in English universities by students in the 19th century.
Wait, what?
Just obviously with the same meaning that's intended to this very day. But one thing that should be pointed out is that they went back and forth over brunch and blunch. Imagine if blunch had won out over brunch. It sounds a bit murderous, you know.
Blunch sounds horrible for food.
It's a bit close to bludgeon. That's probably why it went by the wayside. But again, another example of a word that was coined by the British that you know, we often perceive to be an American English word. The same, I discovered, weirdly, is true of the word cooties, right? Do you know the word cooties? It's sort of like the British equivalent of lurgy. It's a fictional childhood disease.
I remember lurgies. So, like, when I was a kid, I'd be like, he's got the lurgies. And, like, he wouldn't even have anything. You just say, like, he's got the germs.
It was coined by British soldiers to mean lice, essentially, actual lice. The meaning evolved over time, but it really didn't take off in the United States as such until about the 1950s when the British soldiers and American soldiers interacted with each other in the South Pacific. And at that time, the Americans took it back and it took off. You could say that the British gave the Americans cooties. And then finally, I mean, there are plenty more words, but I just want to finish on this one because, you know, I always think of this word as uniquely American, and that word is gasoline. Obviously, in the United Kingdom, we say petrol, usually, to mean that very same thing. But gasoline, again, it was a British coinage by a businessman from the 19th century, again, called John Cassell. Okay, and from his name, a corrupted version of his name, ended up spelling gasoline, until...
Wait, this is super interesting because I know and heard from loads of like UK people, British people, they're like, bro, why do you call it gas when it's a liquid? Do you know what I mean? But we came up with it once.
Version of his name ended up spelling gasoline, until it was adopted over here, but then petrol won out eventually. So those are just some examples, just some. There are plenty more of supposedly American English words that were coined by the British. So we should be a little more relaxed, I think, when it comes to poking fun. Because we were the people that originated it.
We all use these.
So that's right. So without even knowing it, you're probably using American-derived words every single day. In fact, I can absolutely guarantee you are, because one of those words is hello. I mean, who doesn't say hello on any given day? The word hello came out of the 19th century. Now, of course, there'd been words similar to that.
The word hello came out in the 19th century. So how did people say hello to each other? Did they go, How did it say hello, bro?
This, like hullo and hallo, that existed previously. The word that we know today, and it's like hullo and hallo.
Hello. Wait, I sound like I'm not even British. I sound like I'm from like a different country. hello, hello, hello.
That existed previously. The word that we know today, and the word spelled the way it is, Hello, absolutely came out of the United States. It's believed that it was a word used by frontiersmen as they moved out west in the 19th century. But it really took off, not just in the United States, but of course around the English-speaking world, with the invention of one very important technological device, and that's the telephone. When the telephone came about through Alexander Graham Bell, of course. Well, I say of course, there are obviously different theories as to who did invent the telephone, but he's widely credited with it. But the word hello won out as...
Wait, who did it say made the telephone? Because yesterday, I had a Scottish guy in my stream, and he was very, like, he made me search it up. A Scottish guy made the telephone, right?
Through Alexander Graham Bell, of course. Well, I say of course, there are obviously different theories as to who did invent the telephone, but he's widely credited with it. But the word hello won out as the sort of preferred greeting when one would answer the phone. Alexander Graham Bell wanted ahoy. Can you imagine that? If we'd be saying, ahoy, you want to meet for lunch? That would be very strange. But another common word that came out of the United States, in fact, I think I've used it in this very video about 12 times, is the word okay. Strangely enough, you'd think that this word had been around for millennia, but no. The word okay, again, emerged in 19th century United States, believed to have been in the Boston/New York area. It came from an acronym for all correct, but they, for some reason, decided to spell all with an O and correct with a K instead of a C, which is one of those...
Well, I'm glad you Americans came up with okay, because, yeah, perfect word.
Quirks. The 19th century in the United States, by the way, if you're ever interested, has a lot of quirks to it, which we may touch on again here in just a moment. And the word was then popularized, actually, through the presidential campaign of Martin Van Buren. It was put across a lot of his campaign literature because of where he was from. He was from a place called Kinderhook, and he was given the nickname Old Kinderhook, so they abbreviated it to OK. He eventually lost that presidential campaign, but nonetheless the word did stick, and it became a big part of the English language.
You know what, he might not have became the president, but at least he brought to life okay.
Speaking of presidents, in fact, Thomas Jefferson, widely credited with coining the word belittle. And at the beginning of the 20th century, the word hangover came into use. And believe it or not, it came into use in the United States. And I've often said, if it had waited 20 years, we might not have had that word, because the United States went into the Prohibition era, and drinking or the sale of alcohol was banned.
Hangover.
So imagine, British people, a world without the word hangover.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I use every day. So,
bro, I can't even imagine that. What would people say? You know what? It's actually a really interesting video because there's so many words that's just used everywhere. And like he said at the start, and I've heard it before, you got British people, taking the mick with America and their words a little bit, changing it, whatever, right? Bro, this is prime example. We're just picking and choosing. Bro, think about all the words that Americans have made that are really good and we use on a day-to-day basis. You know what I'm saying? Bro.
I'm not every day. I'm not an alcoholic. And there are some sort of characteristics of American coinages that are quite interesting. For instance, it turns out that America has coined an oddly high number of words that feature consecutive instances of the letter Z or Z, depending on how you pronounce that, such as jazz, snazzy, fizzle, pizzazz. However, England takes credit for coining drizzle because, of course, it does. But there are other bizarre characteristics, and we'll get onto those in just a moment.
Great American words.
Yes, so America is replete with words, and when I say words, I mean fantastic words that are pretty much unique to the United States. So I talked about, words there that contain consecutive instances of the letter Z/Z. Same with the letter O, such as wang doodle. Look that one up. That's amazing. Boondoggle, doohickey, and doo-wop, right? All the...
you say what? Bandoodle, doodoggle... Boo hook. What is he saying, bro?
More insane then that the British coined cooties, and that's not where it ends. Randomly, you've got a bunch of words, American words that are unique to America that happen to begin with the letter C, I've noticed, and those are copacetic, conniption, catacorner or catty corner or kitty corner. There's many variants on that particular phrase. Cattywampus. Is that not the greatest word you've ever heard? If it isn't, then there's something entirely wrong with you. So
what does that even mean? Cattywampus. What does that even mean?
Just a brief selection there of American English words that are more or less unique to American English that for me are phenomenal and should go the other way, should cross the ocean and be used in Britain. Because a lot of
Hey, mother, can you get the catawampus?
them sound like they are British. Recently I found out...
I hope that doesn't mean something messed up, by the way. I genuinely don't know the meaning of catawampus. But I hope I just didn't tell my mum to get something crazy.
Out the word bumbershoot.
Okay, I like that word.
Umbrella, which had been widely assumed by the Americans, actually, to have been a word of British origin. It's a word we barely know in Britain. In fact, was coined in the United States. We, of course, in the UK say brolly. So either way, umbrella has, on either side of the pond, a nice slang term to describe it.
Spelling, something I can't do.
Yeah, so America draws a lot of ire for its spelling differences, you know, for incorporating an ER spelling on center.
Oh, true. The biggest spelling difference that I see a lot is color. COLOUR. Color, right? Whereas you guys are COLOR.
Instead of RE. But what should be...
Bro, the only reason why I paused is because I was going to say COULOUR. Listen, I'm dyslexic. I should not be anywhere near spelling. That's bad. That is bad.
Noted is that we, the British, did exactly the same thing with words like November and October that came from Old French that were previously spelled RE. And we just changed that after it came in. The word aluminum versus aluminium is an interesting one. You know, it's often said that, Americans don't know how to spell because they changed the spelling to something admittedly rather simple. But in fact...
Well, I just proved that British people can't spell either.
Wasn't the Americans? It was Sir Humphrey Davy, an English chemist, who coined the initial spelling. And then others outside of his control wanted to change it to aluminium, and that kind of stuck in England, but it made it over to America as aluminum, and may have been reinforced there later on by a typo, somebody trying to spell aluminium. But in fact, the word aluminium was used stateside, I think, until about the 1920s when aluminum eventually won out. But aluminum, of course, is very much accepted by the main science body. To criticize it is still, it's a very strange thing, especially...
I ain't gonna lie, bro. If any of you Americans watching this video, if any British person is saying anything about the way you say words, spell words, send them this video and they won't say nothing anymore. They will sit there and go, oh, so we came up with that word.
Since we came up with that spelling.
Pronunciation.
Once again, I could talk about pronunciations until the cows come home, and the cows are coming home. That's really weird. Get back! Get back in the shed! You... pronunciation differences are an interesting thing, you know, but they have a historical reason behind them in many cases. So let's take the traditional American pronunciation of the word herb, right? They take off the H, and that's because historically we all did in the English-speaking world.
Really?
The word herb was, well, it came from Old French again, and it came from Old French without an H even on the word. It was spelled E-R-B-E.
Oh, interesting.
And so everybody was spelling it that way. During the 19th century, though, there was a trend in England, not in the United States, toward seeing H dropping as a kind of linguistic faux pas. It sort of put you at a lower status, class status, if you were the kind who dropped it. That's why in My Fair Lady, they make such a big thing over the fact that Eliza Doolittle drops her H's, whereas Henry Higgins, who I think is purposely called that, very much pronounces his H, goes to the point of emphasizing it in the song when he says that hurricanes hardly happen. This was very much to denote a class divide, and so many people in the United Kingdom in the 19th century and 20th century, when that is set, started to ensure that they pronounced their H's, but it wasn't foolproof.
Interesting.
In fact, you see evidence of that today because we still in England and of course in the United States of America drop the H on words like hour and honor, again words that came from French. So
wait, yeah, that's true. Does that mean we're all lower class then? Hour. Wait, how do you even say it with H? Hour. Oh my god, that's tripping me out. It's 4 hours.
I think to be critical of the American pronunciation of herb, or to be critical of any of the things that I've listed in this...
Wait, is that how you meant to say it? 4 hours? 4 hours? 4 hours? 4 hours? 4 hours. Out. Oh my god, this is tripping me out, bro. Yo, bro, dyslexic people should not be watching this video, man. My brain's getting confused. I'm tripping out.
This video is somewhat hypocritical. See what I did there? I dropped the H where it shouldn't be.
Hi, thanks for joining me for day 6.
Let me know what you guys think in the comment section to this video. If you guys enjoyed, if you did, make sure you thumbs up, subscribe for more content. Lost in the Pods channel will be in the description. Make sure you check him out. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/L3WG. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.